Gerard on our side. It won't be boring with Watkins scoring, and Ashley's back now playing out wide. I'm still dreaming of a top six finish. We've got the academy coming through fast. We'll get back to Europe at last. Merry Christmas for the love of Paul McGrath podcast.
Hi everyone and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast as we wrap up this year, moving on to, well, not really wrap up the year, but we're getting close to Christmas, I suppose. We felt that it'd be great to have a guest on the podcast because I'm sure almost 12 months of just hearing myself and Paddy natter on about stuff is draining. So over the Christmas dinner or whatever, when I'm sure all of you will have us on your podcast players, on your new Bluetooth speakers that you're going to be getting, or whatever AirPods or whatever you're going to get for Christmas, you're going to want to listen to a podcast. And we said we get the dulcet tones of the man that you just heard singing our intro song for the podcast today. We've got the wonderful David Scott. David is with us today. David is from the Irish Lions Club as well, and we thank you so much, David, for singing that song. You know, it's something that you did for us last year, and we really wanted you to update it now that we don't have Dino at the wheel and that there is a new man in charge. But it's interesting because you did get Ashley Young right in the last one. You willed it into existence because he found his way back home.
I did. Well, you have to go and listen to last year's one. So for all the I know you'll have got lots of listeners up in the last 12 months, but there's this bumper episode you did a year ago, which was phenomenal. All these kind of famous Irish Villa fans like Declan Pearce and all these interviews, and so I opened it with a song of, well, I'm dreaming of a top six finish. So I'm still dreaming of a top six finish. I think you were going to play it at this show, but unfortunately I said with Dino Gaffer and Gabby No Slacker and Ash playing in the or something like that, so so it was a bit out of date, but I'm still dreaming of a top six finish because you never know, it might just happen again. We seem to be on an upward trajectory, which is really nice coming into the festive period.
Exactly, and I think the game's over the festive period. Should they go ahead, will have a massive bearing because I think there's two ways of thinking of how what we probably call the COVID era of this season will go. And while we will be down players ourselves, other teams will be down players, too. So it's a case of maybe trying to hit a smash and grab against that team that's maybe in a small bit of disarray. And I suppose really a lot of teams will be of the viewpoint that they'll just be thinking about themselves and just be thinking of number one first, and you can't really worry about another team's situation. But then again, we're not in the greatest situation. It doesn't sound like listening to Steven Gerrard yesterday. And Paddy, we're going to start with a bit of COVID chat before we get into the Chelsea preview. But Paddy, talk to me about it. Did you get a chance to listen to Steven Gerrard's presser yesterday? And he kind of frustrated and almost kind of pissed off figure yesterday a bit in some of the things that he said, and I think that's the first time we've seen that from him since he's taken over Aston Villa.
Yeah, and look, it's a difficult situation to be thrown into. We'll get to the nooks and crannies about what he said later on, but I think first and foremost, as you can hear from my voice, excuse me, I'm only just recovered from having COVID, and it affects everybody differently, and all I can think of is there's whatever amount of players and staff. I know some of the coaches are probably my age, the players aren't. But I'm struggling really badly since coming out of isolation on Friday. I can't walk for more than 10 minutes without having to stop. So things are a little bit worrying. He spoke about a guy sitting in his car with symptoms, very worried on Saturday. And, you know, I remember taking my lateral flow test, and I'll remember till the day I die, because I just shuddered and went, oh my God, I have this bloody thing. And, you know, I've got underlying conditions, so I'm a bit different to everybody else. But my other half has no underlying conditions, and she's struggling now as well. She didn't struggle when she had it, but she's struggling afterwards. So I'm concerned when you read about the likes of Alan Saint-Maximin, and I think it was Dubravka, was it, at Newcastle?
Carl Darlow was badly hospitalised. Yeah, he was on a ventilator apparently.
So these like I know I'm overweight. I play football 3 times a week, but I'm overweight. These guys are professionals, and yet they still come with complications. You know, we've got older coaches on the squad, or on the coaching ticket, that will have contacted this over them, because we know there's 3 or 4 staff and coaches that have had it. So my main concern is with them. You know, the football is secondary, considering how the Premier League are dealing with it. The football is secondary, because they don't give a shit about anybody. All they seem to care about is getting games on the TV and having something for people to watch, and pandering to the TV companies, which is totally wrong in my opinion. So, you know, cut a long story short, I just wish whoever's had it the best of recoveries, because it's not the easiest thing to deal with. I know some people get over it straight away and go back playing football, and some of those guys are only out of isolation on Friday, as far as I know. So it's a big turnaround to get out of isolation on Friday. I'm sure they're training at home and doing what they can, but to go and play 90 minutes on Sunday is nearly impossible, I'd imagine.
And I think I feel a lot the same now. Thankfully, you're out of the woods in as much as you can be out of the woods. As I say, you still have the after effects of it. And thankfully, I haven't got it myself. I had a PCR test during the week. Just had a few potential symptoms. Had a PCR test myself. Thankfully, it was negative, but can't be too safe. And also, I suppose for myself, it was really just to kind of put my mind at ease if I'm going to be in my parents' or my partner's parents' house and stuff like that, that I'm not going to be dragging it in there with me. But that's immaterial, I suppose. But from the football side of things, you mentioned there's like there is going to be, we're recording this on Thursday the 23rd, and there is going to be a meeting, I think today it is, between the Premier League teams and the top brass, because even though there was a vote to continue the games, and I think they will continue the games, I think there's a small bit of an underlying backlash that they want to get out there. And I think, while I don't think there's going to be anything changed today, I think that the clubs really want to have their say, and I would imagine Aston Villa are going to be well represented at that. But in relation to a couple of the rules, I suppose, that the Premier League have brought in, with regards to that, you only need to have 13 fit players, of which one has to be a goalkeeper. David, talk to me about that. That to me seems madness. You know, like there are some like that. That's Sunday league stuff, because like, oh, have we 11? Okay, we can play the game. That's a bit mad in this day and age, don't you think? Specifically with player welfare. Or am I wrong? Am I too?
No, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, was there a game in Portugal there? I'm trying to go back through my notes, that there was some team they'd had to field 2 goalkeepers or something like that, and it was 7-0 at half time, so they called it off. I mean, it's just madness. This whole thing is madness. I mean, I look at Jordan Henderson's comments, you know, where he questions, do people actually care about player welfare? So, like, as Paddy alluded to there, then there's, you know, meetings going on and decisions are being made. It very much seems like the decisions are being made from the top brass, and are the players actually getting a voice in this? So we need to listen to the players. And, you know, whatever about here in Ireland at the moment, obviously it's extremely worrying. Now, over in the UK, the cases have just absolutely, you know, exploded. Mm-hmm. And they're going up and up and up. So there's a thought that, you know, if we keep on going and having these games, they could be super spreader events. And putting a team out just because you can shouldn't be what decides whether the match goes ahead or not. There should be a wider concern. And really, I know the idea of a bit of a circuit breaker was on the table. I really think they should take that into consideration now. And it shouldn't be about, you know, can they put 11 out? Do they have 13 players? It's absolutely ridiculous, and just to me stinks of the people at the top. They've got deals with TV companies. They had a rough year and a half or so. Clubs struggled financially without money coming in with, you know, attendances. But my God, look what's happening. Just the authorities just need to sit down, look at the case numbers, and I think the situation, it's like it has in other countries. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So I know we'd all love to have a really good festive season of football and sitting down on Stephen's Day and watching the matches, but look, I mean, I think there needs to be a bit of a pause and a bit of breathing room. And I really hope that, I mean, I know you're going to do a piece talking about Chelsea. I would really like to see the game stop because, I mean, if it's lots of sides putting out their youth teams under the circumstances, I don't know how much, how entertaining those games are going to be. I mean, they'll certainly be unusual, but it shouldn't be coming to this.
And that's interesting. I personally think that the time for a circuit breaker has passed. I think we're going to see games over, and I think come hell or high water that these games will be played. I don't think there's going to be anything. The time for the circuit break was in there thinking of doing it for last weekend's set of games, and now that time has passed. So I think that they can't close the door after the horse is bolted in this instance. And I know there's going to be people here listening that are like, "Oh my God, guys, how can you possibly say that games should be cancelled?" We're not saying that. I suppose in an ideal world that would be the situation. We see that Wales and Scotland are going behind closed doors with no fans. And both of you guys mentioned their TV companies. The TV companies, and the money that comes in from that will be a driving factor from this. TV companies don't lose out on anything when games are played behind closed doors. They haven't. So in theory, when there was a game on every single night during the previous lockdown, I don't know. I'm not a financial expert. I haven't seen any list of viewer numbers or how those viewer numbers tally towards advertisement or whatever. But in my absolutely 100% uneducated view, you would have to think that if there's more people watching games on separate days, there's more opportunities for advertising. Therefore, ipso facto, you're making more money. For me, whether the games go ahead or don't go ahead, aren't specifically TV. Because they could say we'll do these behind closed doors, and I suppose I'm not going to say everyone's a winner because the players could still be could still be positive, but the game still go ahead, the league wins, and people can watch the game on TV, and I think that's a happy medium. But then again, getting into the stadium is the release that people need, because if you're at home swearing and going nuts in front of your family, that wears off very quickly. Whereas if you're doing it with 42,000 other people in a stadium, it can work. So I just don't think, and I want to see the games. I'm at the stage now where I just want to see the games played over the Christmas, because I think if you start doing the jiggery pokery now, nobody's going to be happy.
I think what you said was important there, that we missed the circuit breaker. I think we did miss the circuit breaker, but on the other hand, if we had had that circuit breaker for 2 weeks, do we stop the players being with their family on Christmas Day?
This is it.
Do they stop them inviting over? So I do think there's inevitability about the fact that we will have a break after Christmas. It may not come on the 26th, 28th, or 1st and 2nd of January, but I can see a 2-week break somewhere that's going to have to be taken into consideration, and the players going back into a bubble where they're only dealing with the people who are living in their household. Because, like, I know we've spoken about money. I think from a government point of view, letting the fans come in is a bigger picture for them, because they're spending money on transport, they're buying petrol, they're buying food, they're buying drink, they're buying train tickets, they're buying everything. That all comes back to taxes for the government. I don't think the football clubs missed out too much. They may have missed out on a bit of merchandise and food and drink sales in and around the stadium on match day. But I think the lockdown was okay for clubs as such. I think there was some stuff put in place because the TV companies generated so much revenue that there was money given back for loss of earnings for season ticket holders not being there and full houses and what have you. So I don't think there's a huge issue there. But for me, it's got to come down to people now above all else. I think because they met on Monday and said things will go ahead, I think we will see the Christmas fixtures fulfilled for those who can field the team. But my biggest issue is, and Stephen Gerrard alluded to it yesterday, is that it looks like Aston Villa are being punished for fielding a young team against Barrow.
That was my next piece for you. Yeah. But that to me is
that has really annoyed me. Like you said it to me yesterday, because you'd seen the press conference or seen the tweet before I had, and I was there going, that couldn't be right. And then when I heard him say it, you could see he was raging. And I looked at Arsenal on Tuesday night, and I went back and looked after the tweet yesterday, because Arsenal are renowned for putting out kids in the Carabao Cup and whatever. And lo and behold, Arsenal had a near full strength team out, or a full strength squad out anyway. So
I'm just on that, because I'll forget to say it in a moment. Arsenal did play a couple of kids, and I don't think Arsenal would be the team that I would most point the finger at. Chelsea are the team that you would point. Now, last night they had like Harry Vale and so on, but previous to that, the game that they played, they named less than a full bench of subs specifically, so they didn't need to name on the 23s. The big thing there was that there was this thought process that the Premier League would nail you and would say, well, if these people have played in a cup game, that means they're first team players. Then it became factual, and then teams then actually said, well, do you know what, we're going to start doing it now because there's no way around it, and you might as well have these players as opposed to be looking for them. I don't think, I actually, to be honest with you, I don't think that punishes us in a way, because we like the players that played that day. Cameron Archer has come on the Premier League already. Yeah, is he Danny Ings or Ollie Watkins? No, but he's a viable player for us. Carney is now part of the team. Jaden Philogene-Brace. But when you look at it, it's Sprinkles was on the bench that day. Lamar Bogart, I think, might have played that day. Hayden Lindley played, who actually, I really, really like Hayden Lindley, and I wouldn't actually mind seeing him come on for 10 minutes in a Premier League game to see what he's made of. So my thing is that the clubs weren't aware that was going to be a potential sticking point, and it was retrospectively entered in after the fact when these players were played. So that's the thing that boils my proverbial. You know,
is this just the Premier League trying to find any excuse to get the game going ahead? This
100%.
Yeah. It's just, they had a shareholders meeting, but again, there was it one of the Liverpool assistant coaches, he brought up a brilliant point that, you should be talking to the experts. They're talking to CEOs and managers. Pep Linders, he said it, but the experts, they're not the managers. It's scientists and doctors, and we should follow their guidelines. So it shouldn't be about what the CEOs think. There should be a moment where everyone just looks to what's the prevailing, health advice and go with them. And then, as Jordan Henderson was saying, talk to the players as well. So the way this is being handled, it's all the people at the top. Maybe it's not necessarily the government, the TV companies, but it is the CEOs, and that's wrong. It should be about the players, and it should be about following doing what's right in the long term.
I agree. I just want to make a point in this podcast, and I think I can speak for all three of us here. Nobody wants lockdowns, wants no fans, wants games cancelled. No one wants that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, it's the last thing we want to happen. The discussion is not advocating for it. It's just trying to talk about potentially what might be the right thing to do, whether we like it or not. Now, the league will come up and will make their own decision, whatever they want. The last thing we want, I'm sick to the idea of lockdowns and stuff like that, but if they come in to help and protect us, so be it. And that's not what this podcast is about. But I think it is important to have the discussion around maybe, where the Premier League is at this moment in time, and the fact that they're having another meeting after they had a vote at the start of the week. Now they're having another meeting on the 23rd of December, when games are on the 26th. What's going to come out of that meeting? Is it just a meeting so clubs can air their frustrations that have built up since then? Is there going to be more clarification of the rules? Is there going to be more implementation of rules 3 days before a game? I just think that the clarity around what the direction is, the only clarity of direction that's been there is that, listen, lads, we're going to try and play as many games as we possibly can, and that's fine. But the contingency needs to be communicated, along with the parameters and how we're going to achieve all those games. And I don't think that has been done by the league to the clubs, or that it has been done to the fans. And there will be backlash one way or the other. And I don't think it's fair for fans to be upset at a team like Aston Villa for having to cancel a game if the clarity isn't coming and if nobody understands what the situation is and what's supposed to be done. Because it wasn't nice last Saturday having the game called off 2 hours beforehand. We haven't been on to talk about it since. So that's kind of I think it's just important to say that as well, that because there will be people here listening and going, why are these people calling for lockdowns and calling for the games to be absolutely not. It would drive me crackers if they were gone over the Christmas. Absolutely would drive me mental.
Look, in Ireland, we had the longest lockdown last year. It was with 4 to 5 months.
Longest lockdown, I think, in the world.
And it is horrendous. It's terrible for mental health. So absolutely, anything but lockdown is what we want. The same being,
and even the when we got, I suppose more pertinently, the cancellation of games. Like, we're trying to find a way not to cancel games, because I was pacing the house like a bull last Saturday, 2 hours before the kickoff and the game was called off, and I wasn't even traveling. Could you imagine the people that were halfway up the motorway? Like,
we had 10 people over from the Ireland going to the club over at the game who were there, So and I know someone who travelled over from Dubai, and I'm sure Paddy has stories as well of people he knows going over. So it's so tough on people who travel over for hold off like that. So yeah.
And let's just to back up what you're saying, the most important thing, if there is any lockdowns, is that we can watch football. Because I know for a fact that at this time last year, we were heading into 5 or 6 months of a lockdown. At least I was able to watch Villa once or twice a week, and it was able to occupy my mind and give myself something to look forward to. So it's important that football keeps going. I was lucky enough to get over a few times before things start really getting out of control, and I pulled the plug on traveling. So that has been really good for my mental health, being able to get back and do what I would normally do. And, football is... We keep saying what Jurgen Klopp said, it's the most important thing of the least important things. And that that will stick with me till the day I die. Those words. It's our release. It's what we enjoy, and to have it over Christmas, when for those in the UK don't know that our pubs have to close at 8 o'clock, so it's not much fun here at the moment. So our sessions start a little bit early if you want to go for a session. So even over the Christmas, we can't even go to the pub and watch Villa, because the Leeds match will probably be on too late, will it?
Potentially. Yeah, we don't know. Well, look, games mightn't be on at all, but we do know that one game looks like it is going to go ahead. Stephen Gerrard mentioned it in his press conference on Boxing Day for you guys in the UK, St. Stephen's Day here for us here in Ireland, and wherever you are in the rest of the world. I neither have knowledge nor the time to go down through the different names of what the 26th of December is in all the different countries. But believe me, whatever they're called, it's you guys can be safe in the knowledge that it's the right answer for you in whatever country you're in. But we do have Chelsea coming up on the 26th, and look, usually we would talk about what changes would you like to see be made and X, Y, and Z. We can't do that, and the reason we can't do that is because we don't know who's positive, we don't know who's isolating, and so on. But I think it would probably have to play into our favor the fact that obviously Chelsea have played 2 games since we've played, and I know last night that they did have their kids out, or was it last night or 2 nights ago? They did have their kids out as well. But like N'Golo Kante played that game. Like, it was some strange decisions made by Tuchel in that game. They laboured to and no, they were playing against Brentford, but they kind of laboured through the game quite a lot, and they did have to play, or they did play somebody like Kovacic played as well, from what I can remember. So like, they're their 2 defensive midfielders. Is that going to have a massive bearing on things 5 days out? Because we don't know. Another thing that kind of grinds my gears about this is that we don't know what type of training schedules these people are on, or these players are on. Not the training schedules, but we don't know if training grounds are shut down, or if there's limited contact and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to talk about games and how teams are shaping up. But the only thing we can talk about is they've played 2 games and we haven't. Does that play into our favour, or does it not, do you think, David, when we're looking at our 26th of December game coming up?
Oh, it's so hard to say. I mean, Chelsea, they had, was it 7 players tested positive in the build-up to game against Wolves. So they're obviously still going to be all out. Still uncertain. How many was it for Villa? I never thought, was it 6 players for Villa?
Never fully communicated. There was rumours online that there was as high as 19 players, but I don't think that was ever anyway true.
We reckon before we counted them, didn't there? There was 4 that we reckoned were were positive in the lead up to Burnley. We missed 4 against Norwich, didn't we? There was rumours that it was El Ghazi, Steer, Davis, and Sanson. So those guys, bearing in mind the change in the rulings, should be back training already because they reduced it to 7 days. So providing they're okay, they should be back training already.
7 days of asymptomatic, I think, isn't it? That's
So
and you have a negative test. And
it's the 10 days have passed now at this stage. So the 10 days, even if they had symptoms, they can go back training. So we don't know how they were fixed or what and how many there was at the weekend in order to have the game cancelled. But there was obviously a significant amount. So as I was saying, the ones that were tested positive on Friday, if they're asymptomatic, they'll be back training on Friday. But it's just a mess, and it's very hard to work out, what kind of team we're going to put out, who's missing. Are we going to be doubling up in positions? Are we going to have 2 goalkeepers out? Are we going to have our cover at centre half? Well, I know we saw Ezri Konsa interviewed yesterday. He looked fit and healthy, so we know we've one fit centre half anyway. The rumour was that the guy sitting in the car on Saturday that Stephen Gerrard was talking about was Emi Martinez. So that's a worry. We don't want to be without him at all. But as we found out from Gerrard, he didn't actually have it. He didn't test positive.
If it was and this is probably my next question, but I'm going to pop it in straight away. Are we at the stage whereby we could probably say to 1 or 2 players, like someone like Emi Martinez, Emi, stay at home. Stay at home. We don't need you. Like it's if he misses 3 or 4 days of training, and to be honest, there'll be a lot of rest days over the Christmas period as well.
Yeah.
Like does he need to be in training?
Neil, that's a brilliant point. At what stage is it a better option for clubs to say you do your training at home?
But specifically for the goalkeeper, because where I know there's going to be game planning with guys to kick outs and stuff like that, and what to do with corners and practicing corner routines. But realistically speaking, is Emi Martinez at this stage now whereby he's too important for us to have him mixing with people during the week like that? And does he stay at home, and do they have those conversations via Zoom for him or for another player? Can we box clever here? And I'm going to go back to American sports, because at the very start of the pandemic in the NFL, they designated, so the NFL would have maybe 3 quarterbacks within their squad, and they would designate one of them to not come to practice, and they would stay at home and they would get everything via Zoom, so that they would be in a bubble away, so that if everyone else got sick, at least they'd have one quarterback. And that's the importance of the position. And I wonder, is goalkeeper just that important for us at the moment, considering best win in the world? Jed Steer is a big drop off of Emi Martinez, and the academy goalkeepers are a big drop off of Jed Steer. So we don't really have another viable option for a prolonged period of time if Emi Martinez goes out. It was just an interesting one that just popped into my mind there. Are we at that stage for a goalkeeper?
He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would agree to that either.
No.
I think if he was fit enough, he'd want to be there and have an input into everything. He just seems like a leader. So it may or may not be an option. I know that the training ground was probably closed for a few days, which probably helped as well. So it's just a strange situation to be in. It really is. We're trying to preview a game here where realistically we could see Sinisalo starting a goal. We could see Cameron Archer playing up front. We just don't know. Because
Archer has form against Chelsea. That corner of a header he got.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where we're going to have to wait till Sunday, till the team sheet tantrum and see what way we're going to line out. And you're thrown into the mix, as I said. Like most footballers have their Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve because they don't want to be full of food going out to play the next day. So they're going to mix with their family tomorrow after training. They could have in-laws, brothers-in-laws, sister-in-law, whatever, over for dinner. And it's just that's when my worry is that if they're tested Christmas Day when they're training, we could see another raft of players go down on St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day. So it's a strange one.
Am I right in saying, did I read somewhere, and I could be completely off piste on this one? Did I say did I hear that there's a moratorium on testing from Friday because labs will be closed, that they won't actually be able to do testing on Saturday and Sunday of this week, so that it would be... Yeah. And is that a recipe for disaster in itself?
Yeah. Well, it is a recipe for disaster, but they will be able to lateral flow test.
So, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
They can do that themselves. So I think from what Gerard said yesterday as well, that PCR testing is nearly daily now at this stage. So obviously, Christmas Day won't be, but lateral flow is quite good at throwing up if they are positive. So they will have a good idea.
Yeah, and look, in my sporting kind of, I'm going to call it my sporting schizophrenia that I have. Obviously, I want Aston Villa to go out and win every single game, but I do also have, there's like a devil on the other shoulder that says, Les, this is fair exciting seeing how the young kids get on. If there is a situation where we have to throw out young kids, yes, we might be lambs to the slaughter, but let's see how they get on as well. And that voice is very dull, but I think it's something that we should all be looking at today. But let's just say we have to try on the Jaden Philogene-Bidet. Well, saying how good he is. So let's see it against the Leeds, or let's see it against again. If it has to be Chelsea, it has to be Chelsea. So like if they're good enough, we're going to have to trust them at some stage. And if it is only for one game, it's only for one game. Like specifically for Chelsea, like we're going into this Chelsea game, I could see us getting a draw out of it. But based on previous with Chelsea, you know, the likelihood is that it's going to be a tough day at the office for us. But you have to go into every game at home. And if you can't go in there with hope, you might as well go in there with excitement about a young kid playing.
Yeah. But I'm completely fine. If it's Jaden Philogene-Bidet or Carney or anyone who's been in around the first team, I'm fine. It's when it gets to the situation where we've no right full, or Sinisalo has to play in goal, or Philip Marshall has to play in goal. That's when I start to get a bit jumpy and worried at that stage. And it's it could very well happen, and that's the worry.
And that is something to be jumpy about as well, because you can't sign an emergency, like before, if you had your 3 top goalkeepers out, you'd be able to sign an emergency loan for a month, like famously we did with Gabor Krai. Now you can't even do that because you're bringing him in from another environment, from infection reduction and stuff like that. You can't do that. So it's.
But looking on the positive, I mean, it could be a situation where the club that has the best youth system or the best young players coming through could be the club that actually does best over this period. And sure, look at all the young players we have. So it's possible that we could handle the whole situation better than many of the other teams around us. You just don't want to get to see a situation where there's one club that hasn't had an outbreak and they've got a full strength 11, and we have a situation where, as I say, we're playing, we've no right back, and that would just.
Like you said, they're a club that hasn't had an outbreak, or somebody like Spurs who get to play the whole Christmas period with a full strength squad when we should have all shut down when maybe Spurs are United. And I'm not picking them out. I'm just playing devil's advocate that other teams could feel aggrieved that, well, Spurs got 3 games off or 2 games off. Now we're being forced to play through the Christmas period when it's a congested period anyway, and we've got young kids playing in the team, and they're expected to play 3 games in 163.5 hours. Which is the amount of time between all the games that covers the whole lot of the games. So it's a really interesting point there. And you know what? Just because we can't really talk an awful lot more, I suppose, really about Chelsea and about COVID and stuff like this. And this has become a bit more of a COVID chat. And it's Christmas, and we want to have a bit of crack at Christmas time as well. Let's lighten the mood, because we could go on for another hour about idiosyncrasies and stuff in the setup of the league at the moment. But I didn't even tell you guys this, but we've got a quiz. So, David, tough luck at you. You picked the wrong time to come on the podcast, because we've got a quiz.
I'm embarrassed now with my lack of knowledge.
Well,
I'll be as good as Gabby Agbonahor thinking that Mount Snowdon is 100,000 metres high. I don't know if we saw that.
What did he call it? He called it Mount Swansea, didn't he, as well? Mount Swansea is 100,000 metres high. Yeah, that was on Talk Sport. Gabby, if you're watching, we'd love to have you on.
Love you, Gabby.
I think he's a shit star, but he's great to have in the media for us. You know, I like him, and I know I've got 1 or 2 Leeds mates that'll be listening to this going, Gabby Agbonahor is the worst in the world, but he's winning the battle with Danny Mills at the moment. So that's always funny to check in on. So we've got two rounds, guys. 2 rounds, 10 questions in each round. I'm not going to make it too taxing. One of the rounds I think you'll do well on. The other round, well, we'll see. First round is former Villa players and their transfers, but the questions will be around what team did Villa sign these players from? Okay, so everyone here, Yeah, I think we were all born when these players actually signed for Aston Villa, so that's a good sign. So there's no Pongo warnings in here or anything like that. But let's go. So get pen and paper because I'm going to name and shame. I'm going to get you to name and shame your answers after this. And the first question is: Aston Villa signed Colin Calderwood from who? The wonderful Colin Calderwood.
We're not calling them out, no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. At the end, we will.
Okay.
Second question is: who did Aston Villa sign Simon Grayson from? Probably one of the easier ones on this list. So if you didn't get that one, maybe you're in tough luck for the rest of them. Second one is: who did Aston Villa sign Jean de McCoon and his wonderful jumper from?
Better than Stilian Petrov, of course.
That's what was said at the time. That's what was said at the time, and it didn't pan out. Okay. The next question 4. We all remember this fella and his absolutely amazing beard. Nailed down captain position and the centre half position for Aston Villa. But who did Olaf Melberg sign for Aston Villa from? Who did Villa sign Olaf Melberg from?
This is not going well.
Next one I think is probably a difficult one. Well, it may not be because he's done quite a lot of interviews and he's a great guy and I'd love to have him on the podcast. Who did Aston Villa sign Sean Teal from?
I'm happy to report this is a tiny bit before my time.
Okay, I was born, but I wasn't following.
No, I was born. I wasn't there. I have a guess.
The only reason I know this is because I've heard him say it in interviews previously. They have played in the Premier League. Currently don't. I'll give you a little clue on that one.
Okay. Oh, that was now. Hang on. Stop giving clues because I have a guess. So I think I'm
okay. Next one is question 6. Who did Aston Villa sign the absolutely wonderfully mercurial and one of the slowest players I've ever seen play for Aston Villa, Matthew Burson? Who did Aston Villa sign Matthew Burson from? There's a team to Matthew Burson and the next one as well. Think of slow midfielders. Question 7. Who did Aston Villa sign Gavin McCann from? Gavin McCann did a job. In fairness, he did a job. I think in that season that we finished 6th under David O'Leary, he was probably, like, if he was out for a game,
great
he
player.
suffered.
He was actually one who went through a period of not training because he had this shin injury, I think, and they just keep on having to wrap him in cotton wool.
That rings a bell with me as well. Yeah, that rings a bell with me. Next guy is currently playing. I think he's with Cardiff, or maybe he might have just left Cardiff at the minute. But who did Aston Villa sign left back Joe Bennett from?
Jeepers.
Wow.
Joe Bennett, everybody. I completely forgot about the last.
This will be great. The faces we're pulling if people are actually watching this.
Yeah. Second last one. Who did Aston Villa sign Rudy Gestede from?
Biggest aerial threat in the Premier League since Alan Shearer, according to Tim Sherwood. Thank you.
After he scored that goal against Bournemouth on the opening day in 2016, I went, yeah, this is going to be a great season.
Yeah, I said, it's a new season. We'll be grand. We'll be grand.
Yeah.
Actually, we were played off the park that day. We shouldn't have won.
No, absolutely not. And I think it was Bournemouth's debut season as well.
Yeah.
Maybe their second season, maybe. I can't remember.
No,
and last,
Premier League, yeah, you're right.
Last but not least, we spoke about goalkeepers. We spoke about not having adequate replacements for goalkeepers. Back in the late 90s, I think it was, maybe early 2000s, who did Aston Villa sign Dutch goalkeeper Stefan Postma from?
What was he famous for?
There's going to be children potentially watching and listening.
We won't go into that one.
We won't go into that one.
But the last one.
That's the last one for round one. Yeah, last one. So I'll just go down through the names again. So number 1 was Colin Calderwood. Number 2 was Simon Grayson. Number 3 was Jean de McCoon. Number 4 was Olaf Melberg. 5 was Sean Teal. 6 was Matthew Burson. 7, Gavin McCann. 8, Joe Bennett. 9, Rudy Gestede. And 10, Stefan Postma. Right. Anybody confident that they have the right answer for question 1, Colin Calderwood?
I knew he played for this club, but I don't know if he went direct from this club to Villa, so he was definitely at Spurs, so I put Spurs down.
Correct. Spurs is correct. The trick answer there is Forest, because for some strange reason, Colin Calderwood is well thought of in Forest.
And it's 1-0 Dave, because I had Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, Forest. I know it. Next one is a bit easy. Well, I thought it was a bit easier. Simon Grayson. Anyone confident that they've got that answer right?
I do know, because it was Brian Little brought him with him from Leicester, wasn't it?
Correct. Leicester.
I had Leicester as well.
Leicester City. Third one, and he's fantastic jumper, Sean McCoon. Anyone confident?
I'm going to hazard a guess, and only because I'm never allowed to say this word on the podcast, but did we sign him from Brest?
No, we didn't.
I have a wild guess here as well. I don't know. I put Nantes down, but I don't know if that's right.
No, we signed him from Lyon.
Lyon, okay.
Lyon. Yeah, I used to always sign him for Aston Villa in Football Manager as well, play defensive midfield. But I must say, Paddy, great opportunism there out here. Great opportunism. Olaf Melberg, thanks for the memories. What did who did we sign him from?
Yeah, I do remember this. It was Gregory signed him, and it was from Racing Santander.
Exactly. Yeah, Racing Santander. Sean Teal. Did I even know that
AFC
one?
Bournemouth.
AFC Bournemouth is correct.
Oh, well done. I guessed West Brom.
No, AFC Bournemouth. Correct. Mercurial Frenchman Matthew Burson.
Dave mentioned it earlier, Nantes.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't believe it. I put down Nancy. Oh, no.
Signed him from Nantes. Gavin McCann. Who do we sign him from?
Sunderland.
Yeah.
Correct. And he went on to play for Bolton afterwards. Joe Bennett only really had a cup of tea at Aston Villa. Didn't play that many games from memory, but who did we sign him from?
Was it Middlesbrough?
Correct.
Oh,
Middlesbrough.
well done. Yeah, I'm not Spurs, but no, yeah.
Middlesbrough. Greatest aerial threat in the Premier League since Alan Shearer, Rudy Gestede.
I think we signed him from Blackburn, did we?
Correct.
Oh,
see, you guys are better at this than you thought. And last one, Aston Villa legend and soon to have a statue built outside the ground for him, Stefan Postma.
Outside the ground or outside a strip club in town?
Yeah, could outside that one.
What position was he in, Neil, again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper, that's it.
Yeah. I think I know this one.
I don't. I have a guess. You go, Paddy.
I have a friend that supports this team. Is it the Graf Shop?
It is the Graf Shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got this question wrong in a quiz, and it was the only one I got wrong there 4 nights ago, and I said ADO Den Haag because that's who we sold him to. That's my excuse, and that's what I'm sticking to. Well done. Some obscure players, some not so obscure players there on that list. Yeah, I'm not counting any scores. You're both.
No, let's call it a draw. Draw.
Because the next round is really going to sort the wheat from the chaff. So the next round is round 2, and it's Aston Villa players, past and present. But what is their middle names? Yeah, it's a pure guessing game. So we'll get through this one.
I know one because I bought his autobiography, but that's about it.
I think he's number. I'm nearly certain he's going to be number. The guy you're talking about is going to be number 2 in this one. So the first one is, what is Dwight York's middle name?
Eversley. That's it.
It's
Oh shit! I've shouted it out. I'm going to write it down. I won't get any more. That's it. I don't know.
I guarantee you'll get one.
You get one more. The second one's question number 2 here, and I wanted to start off with 2 easy-ish ones. Stan Collymore, and I actually know you say
that.
Everybody knows that one. I'll buy you guys a holiday home in Spain if you can get Gabby Agbalnahore's middle name.
Oh, can I just show something? I actually.
Oh my God, no! I don't have to buy you.
I have it written down here. I'll put my finger on it. I have Gabby. Can you see Gabby?
Yeah.
I have it written down.
Damn it! I need to buy some of the holiday home in Spain. So that's Gabby Agbalnahore, number 3. Number 4, Andy Townsend. It's not as exotic as Gabby Agbalnahore's second name, middle name. And it's not as exotic as Eversley.
Don't take me to a table quiz.
Tyrone Mings is next. Tyrone Mings is number 5.
Jeepers.
That's a real guess. It'll be a real guess, I'd say. Ollie Watkins is number 6. Ollie Watkins actually has 2, and I'll accept either of them. So of all the names in the world, and it's I'm going to call it, and without any disrespect to anybody who's got a name that I would class as maybe an irregular sort of middle name, this is a more of a regular British middle name.
I think Ollie Watkins' middle name is named after a footballer. Don't know why I have that in my head. An Arsenal footballer.
One of them is, well, the other one is as well, but he plays central midfield for either Barcelona or Juventus. I think he was wrapped up in a crazy transfer that was found illegal recently. Yeah. Next one is number 7 is our fearless leader, Steven Gerrard.
Ooh.
I'll give you a clue. If you're 100% sure of Ollie Watkins' middle name, it's Steven Gerrard's as well.
So hang on, when we get the Ollie Watkins answer, we'll know this.
Yeah. My dog is going nuts here. Sorry, I don't know.
I remember this when he won the. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I'm gonna guess. Hang on, your clue has just come through, Neil. Very, very English. Yes.
Next is one of our owners. I know I'm not going to ask you what Nassif Sawiris' middle name is. What's Wes Eden's middle name?
Jeepers.
Yeah, and for all of you there, there's my dog. This is the guy that usually barks in the podcast. I don't know if anyone can hear it. Yeah, we've got the same color beard. No, get back down. Ironically enough, or not ironically, strangely enough, my dog's name is Paddy as well, but he was named well before I knew Paddy on the podcast. Second last one, Danny Ings. What's Danny Ings' middle name?
Jeepers. Okay. I think I have 4.
But we've won more.
Okay, go on.
Last one. What is Bertrand Traore's middle name?
I've stopped writing things down now.
Bertrand Traore, what was his middle name? Right, and that is 10 handy ones. If you don't get this, you're not a real Villa fan, I think, is the moral of the story. Dwight York, we know as Eversley.
Eversley, I got his autobiography. I'd have to say, if he's listening, it's not very well written.
Well, we'll see. We'll get him on the podcast to refute that in future. Stanley Victor Collymore. Victor Collymore, yeah. Even now when I'm discussing him, it just automatically runs off the tongue. I call Stan Collymore Stanley Victor regularly the whole time. Gabby, go on, David. Have a crack
I
at
have
how to
it. If you're on thing, I wrote down 2 players' names that I knew like there at the start. Neil told me beforehand. When I say knew, I wrote down. I did a bit of research. It's Emutinian or something like that.
Yes, Emutinian. Yeah.
Gabby. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get him on the podcast to pronounce it as well.
I had it written down here. I did a bit of research beforehand.
Andy Townsend.
I think it's my name, is it? David.
It's David. It is. Yeah. Andy David Townsend.
Very good.
Tyrone Mings.
No.
Joseph.
Dion.
What?
Dion. Tyrone Dion Mings. Now, here we get to it. Ollie Watkins is
George.
It is. Ollie, George and Arthur.
And so I wouldn't have got that, only you said that Stevie G's middle name is the same.
It's the same, yeah. And Stephen is Stephen George Gerrard as well. Just a bit of premise to this, and I failed to actually get anybody who had the middle name I wanted. I was trying to find Aston Villa players who had all of them had the middle name Patrick, and not tell you until the very end as we were doing the answers to say, what's the middle name? Patrick all the way down through. But I failed to get even one, so never mind. So then it just became this. Wes Edens, what's Wes Edens' middle name?
Patrick?
No. Wesley Robert Edens. Danny Ings.
Patrick?
No, I failed to get anybody with Patrick. William. Patrick or Daniel William Ings. And Bertrand Patrick. No, it's not. It's Bertrand Isidore. Or Isidore.
Oh, it's off the tip of your tongue. Yeah.
It's on the tip of your tongue, I know. Yeah. So, for anybody out there who was looking for something that was actually useful in that round, that's probably one of the most pointless 10 questions you will ever come across. But they might be ones that I hope made you laugh when you were listening to this podcast, because we were talking about some pretty heavy subjects prior to that. So let's finish it up on a better note.
Can I say a couple of things before we go?
You can, of course. This
isn't actually my podcast debut. I made it on another Villa podcast. So if any of the listeners would like to add to their repertoire, check out Talk of the Trinity. I'll be on a kind of a discussion with people from the Cayman Villains and the Qatar Lions Supporters Club. And a couple of lads, they're Will and Baz. Just check them out on Twitter at Talk Trinity. As O'Leary says, an honest bunch of lads. But the other thing, we talked a lot about lockdown today. And so I've been listening to the show and I've been a huge fan for the last year and a half, 2 years or so. It really helped when we had that first lockdown. Like as you might have got from the intro, I'm a working musician. All my work just went, the fear and everything of the disease. And you guys started really banging out regular episodes every week when there was nothing else. So I'm sure the listeners will relate to this. It was a great thing for my mental health, just being able to go. I had to go on a jog because the gym was closed. Episodes are about 50 minutes, so it was like brilliant. I knew Paddy from the Lions clubs, so I put it in my ears, went on a jog, forgot about all the madness out there and listened to you guys. So the fact that you got episodes out regularly and that time, it was huge for me. It was huge for my mental health, and I just enjoyed it so much. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for keep doing it and keep going through and in a really difficult time. You did so much, and I'm sure lots of other listeners will relate to that. So thank you, Neil, and thank you, Paddy, for all you've done.
Thanks. That's a wonderful thing to hear, David. You know, we were only doing it, two fellas shouting into an empty room together, really. But you know, that's some really, really nice words. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks a million, Dave. Appreciate it.
No worries. Keep it up. It's great.
Thank you. And to anybody out there who is listening into this, you know, as I say, we spoke very, very little about Christmas. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas or whatever festival you're celebrating around this time of the year. I hope you really have a wonderful one. You know, I hope all your family stay safe. I hope that, you know, everybody's in a good place over the Christmas period. And I hope Aston Villa, if the games go ahead, which you expect them to do, hope they put you in an even better place over the Christmas period. And I want to wish you all a happy Christmas, happy whatever anybody's celebrating at this period of time. And most importantly, I want to wish everybody a happy 2022. We will be back with more episodes over the next few days. We will obviously be discussing any games, pre and post views. If any games are cancelled, we still put together something to try and get them out, because as I say, it's nice to have something to listen to over the festive period as well. So don't worry, we will be around over that period. But most of all, as I say, everybody stay safe, have a fantastic Christmas, and you have an even better 2022. So on that note, I think all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.